Question is the bill be now read the second time. The honourable member for Nelson.
Thank you, Mr President. I wasn't necessarily going to make a contribution, but I've appreciated the contributions made by others and will briefly put my thoughts on the record as part of the debate. I've particularly appreciated hearing the questions raised by the members. I particularly appreciated the member for Murchison's very forensic contribution and thoughts on putting forward the amendment she's put forward. It just makes me reflect, Mr President, that here we are, yet again, considering something in this chamber that is a result of this government making policy in the interests of political self-interest and expediency connected to elections.
On the last day of Parliament, when they're not sitting.
And we're dealing with it right at the end of the year. And this is not the way we should be leading a state. It's not the way we should be seeking to solve the challenges we face as a state. It's a symptom of elections that have been held too frequently over recent years because a government is limping along trying anything to hold on to power. And what we've seen in so many of our crucial areas of policy in this state, our biggest challenges in this state, like housing, the one we're talking about today, is a government that's desperate to get re-elected at our too frequent elections and is throwing out promises that are sugar hits that are designed to tempt voters not to solve problems. And that is to the detriment of our state in terms of actually achieving outcomes. It's to the detriment of our state in terms of a responsible use of public resources. And it is not something that we should be encouraging or supporting, I think, in this place. We need to be calling it out at every opportunity that we have, and we need to be saying to this government, stop putting your self-interest first, your political self-interest, your political expediency and your electoral outcomes first, and start putting the state first, the public interest of our state. I know that's a pipe dream, Mr President, with this government. It is a pipe dream.
Sure, probably delusional.
Call me delusional. It must be a Christmas delusion. It's looming. But that's what the Tasmanian community expect of us. I think that's what the Tasmanian community retain optimism that they will get from our political leaders and our parliament. And I don't think we should be disappointing our constituents, our voters, our Tasmanian community members on that. We just shouldn't be. This is an atrocious...
By rewarding the government.
By rewarding a government that rushes into expedient sugar-hit announcements during elections and then spends the time when they are supposed to be governing in the best interest of our state actually trying to deliver on ill-conceived, irresponsible announcements made and then working back from that. Shocking. On this, quite briefly really, housing is literally one of our biggest challenges in this state. I was speaking with a constituent on the phone just this morning. We were reflecting on the fact that if there's two things that we could do to transform our community here, it wouldn't necessarily be a big infrastructure project. It would be two things, Mr President. Make sure people have secure, affordable housing and lift our literacy rates, genuinely. Those are the two silver bullets.
And you have to have one to get the other.
Exactly right. The two silver bullets that would transform this state should be the focus of every bit of attention we can give to them, both those areas. And yet we're just distracted time after time by things that are more politically exciting, more politically expedient, but less in the overall interests of our community and its outcomes. Housing is something that I'm deeply interested in. From the time before I came to this place, I worked in community services area where we see every day the results of Tasmanians who do not have access to secure, affordable housing and what that means. It's a social determinant of health. It's a social determinant of education. It's a social determinant of employment. It's a social determinant of participation in our community, having secure, affordable housing. It is the building block on which everything else can be done. So therefore, whenever we're talking about any policy in this space of housing, we should be coming at that with the most comprehensive, evidence-based, strategic, and I mean short-term, medium-term and long-term strategic policy approach. We should be utterly able to justify anything put forward in this place on housing policy in those terms as part of a comprehensive, evidence-based, strategic, long-term approach.
Hear, hear.
That is not what this bill is. This bill utterly fails on that front. As the member for Murchison so clearly outlined, and what we all know to be factually true, grants of this sort inflate prices. They just do. And when we make them retrospective, I don't even think they deliver extra supply at inflated prices. I think they really just cement supply already coming down the pipeline. That's a shockingly irresponsible way to use public funds then, Mr President. And when we have emails come to us from people in the industry saying, if we don't pass this today, there's certain poor families, Tasmanian families out there whose contracts can't go forward because they've factored it in. And that's actually quite manipulative to be putting that in front of us, because we are here to think about the well-being and the public interest of all Tasmanians. And of course I feel deeply sorry for any Tasmanian families who've entered into contracts or have entered into arrangements that relied on this being passed by Parliament, and if we were not to pass it, or if we were to take on board the amendments from the member for Murchison, they would no longer be able to go ahead with their contracts. Of course that's a tragic situation for those families. But for every one of those families that would be directly impacted by the lack of passage of this bill, we could point to 100 other Tasmanian families who will suffer because of the price inflation that will occur because of this bill and will no longer be able to enter the housing market either. But they're not ones that we can bring forward and put in front of us right now and put a face and a name to and a contract to. And it's not fair to manipulate and put people in front of us and say, this family is going to miss out on their contract, when we well know there's 100 families behind them who will be negatively impacted by this sort of irresponsible policy, non-evidence-based, irresponsible, sugar-hit policy designed to be in the interests of the political party that announced it in an election and no one else. Or actually, probably someone else, probably the building industry. So, Mr President, it's the end of the year. This sort of thing really, I think, is a clear demonstration and illustration of an irresponsible government who is really not even bothering now to pretend that it's making decisions in the interests of this state. It's really just trying to either serve its own interests or serve the interests of the people that it likes or agrees with or are mates with. And that's just sad. On this bill, I do support the member for Murchison's amendments. I think overall that's in the interests of the state, in the interests of all Tasmanians. It's not responsible to support irresponsible policy, and so therefore I will not be doing that in this chamber today.